Hello everybody, welcome back to Outdoors with Ellie and D. We're going to do a little video today on arrow weight. I know it's a big controversy. I've seen a lot of videos on it lately, on whether or not to use heavy arrows, light arrows. I just thought I'd throw my 2 cents in there. Coming from a background of experience, I've done it both ways, and I've been shooting nothing but a heavy setup since probably 2007, somewhere around there. I'd like to share with you just some of my findings I've found. So I'd like to share with you how I came to start using a heavy setup myself. Well, before we get to that, let me just say we're a week out from the opening day of the 2024 bow season. We'll be primarily going after elk. We do not have a deer tag for the unit that we're in. The bucks aren't that great in that area, haven't been for years. But anyways, we'll be primarily going after elk, and my video will be mostly about hunting elk with a heavy setup. I'll show you how I got to that point. I started in, I don't know, around 2007. I kind of got bored with bow hunting. I didn't quit, I just, kind of same old stuff. So what I did to kind of change it up was I decided to start traditional bow hunting. And to do that, what I did was, I didn't want to buy a bow, so what I did was I went ahead and I made a bow. I made this bow, in fact. You can see it very well on the camera there. I ordered all my stuff from Bingham Archery in Ogden, Utah, which is ironic because that's where I grew up. The riser's made out of bubinga. It's a really hardwood out of Africa. The limbs are a red elm, stained a walnut color, obviously with clear glass. I've harvested 2 animals with this bow, cow elk and that buck on the left hand side there with this bow. I hunted with this bow for 3 years. I really enjoyed it. To be honest with you, I really think shooting traditional archery is a lot funner than shooting compound bows. Although I still hunt with the compound bow today. After I hunted with this for 3 years, I went back to it, and the reason why I did that was I never had so many bulls in front of me in my life those 3 years, and most of them were out of range, and I couldn't shoot them, and it was extremely frustrating. And as hard as the elk hunting's gotten in Oregon and Washington, I decided to go back to shooting a wheel bow. But the traditional bows are the funnest to shoot, in my opinion. That's a bow oven. That's the bow oven that I laminated that recurve with. You have to make a jig, and there's quite a bit of there's quite a few materials to it, but maybe we'll get into that another day. I'll maybe make a video of making a bow, but we'll get back to the heavy arrow setup. Let me back up a little bit on before I get to the heavy arrow setup. Before I shot the traditional bow with a heavy setup, I shot typical compound like everybody else. First bow I ever had was a Browning Explorer 2. It's an all wooden bow. It's a compound bow. It has 4 wheels on it. I don't have that bow anymore. One of the limbs started to crack on it, and we got rid of it. But the next bow I had after that was a compound, and it was the first one I ever bought with my own money. The other one was I think a birthday gift or something like that. But the first bow I ever bought with my own money was this Golden Eagle that I still have up here. And I shot with no release, shot fingers on that bow the entire time I hunted with it, including right up until the time where I started traditional hunting. So shooting fingers with the traditional bow was, no change for me. I didn't start shooting a release until after I started hunting with the traditional bow, and I went back to a compound. I finally gave in. I'm probably like a lot of people, really hard-headed, don't like to give up things. I finally decided to try the release and the mechanical release, and I couldn't believe how much more accurate it could be, and I've been hunting with the release ever since. So when you start shooting a traditional bow, whether it's a recurve, a longbow, a self bow, any of that stuff, one of the first things you realize is that you don't have a lot of speed. So if you're going to get penetration on an animal, you got to have weight. And the best thing to have is speed and weight. So if you're hunting with the compound and a heavy setup, that's best. So I started hunting with a heavy setup with the traditional bow, and what brought me to that was I used to subscribe. I started reading a couple of magazines. I'll show them to you right here. And I started subscribing to this magazine right here, this one, and Primitive Archer, this traditional bow hunter. And I started subscribing to this in 2004. And this issue right here in December, January 2008, I come upon an article about Dr. Ed Ashby. I know he's been on the videos a lot lately. I think Rent Ferry even had him on his podcast, on his channel, and interviewed him. And I learned about him through these magazines here. So what I started doing is I started reading all of his articles. And out of these here magazines, they did some follow-up interviews, and I'll show you some pictures out of them, some of his findings. And then what I started doing was I started making this packet right here. By the way, this is not a picture of Ed Ashby. This is a picture of Valerius Geist. And they did come back, and the magazine did say they were sorry for posting the wrong picture of the wrong hunter. But anyway, this is 34 pages, and I would hand this out to any of the guys that I work with that hunted who might be interested. I even handed it out to the guys that I bow hunted with myself. Some people read it and wish they had two of them so they could, well, I won't get into that, but they probably use it as toilet paper is what I'm saying. Like I said, people are hard-headed about their bow setups. It's almost like telling somebody what car they should drive, who they should date. People get really dug in with this kind of stuff. So let me show you what I found, and I'll show you a few pictures here, and then I'll talk about my experience with it. So in this first magazine here, we got some pictures of Ed Ashby when he was young, telling his whole story. How he came into the study in Africa, bringing bow hunting into Africa, what kind of animals he shot, what he used, and then he starts getting into broadheads, arrows, the failures, and the scientific study that he did on it is absolutely amazing. If you have not looked into it, it will blow your mind. I've never seen anything so in depth. It'll boggle your mind. If you go onto the websites, I got all my stuff from tradgang.com, which stands for Traditional Gang, and all of his findings are on there. I'm sure he might even have his own website these days. But the stuff he'd go through, the animals that he would shoot, he'd bring them back to camp, and he'd shoot them again. And I just have to say that I see these broadhead tests, arrow tests. I see videos of it all the time of people shooting them into ballistic gel, plywood, all kinds of stuff. Personally, I don't believe there's any. You can't replicate shooting a living, breathing animal that's made of muscle tissue, muscular, skeletal structure, adrenaline in it. They're soft and hard at the same time. They have give, but yet they're really strong. I don't think there's anything you can replicate that with. So as far as I'm concerned, this guy's study is the only one that ever needs to be done. This guy's already done all the work for us, and I just think it's wise to heed his advice. Picture here, it shows some inserts, outserts, aluminum arrows. It shows some broadhead tips. I have tested, in my hunting, I have tested basically everything he said. He says don't go with aluminum inserts or aluminum ferrules. Tested that and thought maybe I could get away with one or the other, and was proven wrong on both of those. First I got away from the aluminum inserts and went with brass. And then also one of the last bulls that I've shot, I was doing some follow-up shots with it after it hit good and on the ground, and trying to finish it off. and I was pretty much point blank, and I'm shooting arrows into this bull with my heavy setup, and some of my arrows, they were penetrating, they weren't going very far, and they were breaking off. And where they were breaking off after that is, this is an aluminum insert, an aluminum ferrule. These are the ferrules that I use now. And this is the brass insert. Steel, brass, neither one of these will break. So first I went with the brass insert, but was still using aluminum ferrules, and they were breaking off right here. So I learned my lesson on that one as well. The broadheads here, all the different tips that he tried. And this one here is known as the Tonto tip, and that is the best penetrating, and that is on the Grizzly broadheads that I use. Okay, what I want to show you here in this one is, now this is what they call the potato test, and what Dr. Ashby tells us is these single bevel broadheads, because they're only beveled on one side, you can see that very well, that when they start to go into something, because it's beveled on one side and it's on the opposite side, when it starts to go in, you'll get more friction on that one side that's not, you get more friction on the side that's not beveled, and it'll push and it'll start to twist. And I have found that is also 100% correct. I've seen it with my own eyes and the bones of the elk that I've shot. And I've done the potato test. All you do is you get your arrow and your broadhead, you just push it through a potato, and you can watch it push, and it starts to twist, and it'll twist that potato right in half. And as you can see, these bones in these pictures right here, it did the same thing. And I have personally experienced that myself. The broadheads, he gets into mechanicals here. I have never shot a mechanical. In the states that I hunt in, they were illegal for years. They're legal now, but I wouldn't even venture to try one. From all the studies that I've done. I have tried multiple broadheads myself before I started using this heavy setup. 2-blade, 3-blade, replaceable blades. I have, the very first elk I ever shot was with the 3-blade, and I was not impressed with the penetration at all. It was a 40-yard broadside shot, and the arrow didn't even get all the way through the animal. It didn't poke through the other side. I have personally witnessed a buddy of mine shooting a black-tailed buck, which, if you've been around those deer, they're not very big at all. He hit it, he wounded it, went down in this creek. We went down and found it, and it had its head just up above the water. It was hiding in the creek from us, and we spotted it, and we got right up on it. We were going to finish it off, and he was shooting this deer. It was up on the side of the bank trying to get out of the water at a couple of yards, and he was shooting some, I believe they were Rocky Mountain broadheads. They were a replaceable blade. I think they were a 3-blade broadhead, and he was getting no penetration at all, and the blades were shearing off. They were breaking right off of the broadheads, shooting them right here in the shoulder. They were just breaking right off. Over the years, I've had multiple experiences like that, just horrible penetration. And probably one of the biggest points I wanted to make in all of this video was every single year that I'm elk hunting, not some years, not every once in a while, every single year I will run into a guy, a party, who tells me, well, we shot one, but we can't find it. Every year I find that. And I gotta tell you, since I've been hunting with the heavy setup, I haven't lost one elk. Not even close. As a matter of fact, all the elk that I've shot with a heavy setup go 50 to 75 yards, and they have to lay down. And they can't get back up. I've never experienced that. You guys let me know in the comments if you've ever experienced that. After you've shot your elk, they've gone, they've laid down, you go up to them to finish them off, and they can't get back up. These arrows, this setup creates such a big wound channel, the way it twists, and if you have sharp broadheads, they bleed so much internally that my theory is that all the blood goes down into a part of their body where it's not supposed to be. It starts to coagulate, and I don't know if it throws off their balance. Their weight's distributed. The blood's not where it's supposed to be. I don't know what's going on, but they cannot get up. They try with everything in them to try to get back up, and they can't get back up. That's happened with every one of these elk that I have shot with a heavy setup. You guys let me know if you've experienced the same thing. Vertically, when he goes into FOC, there's charts. Like I said, this isn't even scratching the surface of the studies of the information that's available from him. It'll really blow your mind. Anyways, it's a great magazine. I highly recommend subscribing to it. I know people don't read much, anything but online, but there's a lot of how-to stuff in the Primitive Archer and the Traditional Bowhunter magazines. If you want to start building your own stuff, these magazines, which is why I kept them, are a wealth of information. So let me get into some of the arrows and what I'm shooting now. Okay, so these are grizzly broadheads. This is what Dr. Ashby recommends, and they've got everything that his studies show is a reason why they work so well, why they penetrate so well. They're a 3-to-1. Their length is 3-to-1 ratio for width. They're single beveled on one side. They have the Tonto tip on them. The only thing better you could do to them is coat them with Teflon. They have tried that. They did do a little bit of a study on that, and the Teflon broadheads do penetrate more. When it comes to the arrow, he recommends the thinnest diameter arrow you can get. I've been using these Easton Axis for ever since I started hunting with the compound again, which is around 2010, I think, is when I went back to hunting with the compound. When you do shoot a heavier arrow setup, you do need to go with a heavier spine. These are 300s. I do build my own arrows. Use Goat Tough glue, and the archery shop I used to go to, a guy did that for 30 years, and he used to build my arrows, and I never ever had anything pull out of them or come apart, so I started using that Goat Tough glue as well. The stuff is fantastic. So here's what I'm using right now. I had to cut this out of an arrow because I didn't have any extra ones. But here are the brass inserts. These are 100 grain. You get them at 75. Depending on what arrow you're using, these are for like your Axis arrows. These come in 2 grains. You can get them in the 100 or the 75. Let's see. And then I use the steel ferrules. You can get these are 75 or 100. These are 100. They come in a package that looks just like this. At least where I order them from. Most archery shops don't carry this stuff because everybody's all about speed, speed, speed. So I order all my stuff from Three Rivers Archery. It's a huge traditional archery warehouse or store. It's in the Midwest. I think it might be in Illinois. I'll have to look it up. But I've been ordering them for years. Order all my heavy stuff from them. Once you send them, I'll start sending out the catalogs and all that good stuff. But as you can see with these broadheads, Grizzly Broadheads has changed hands a couple of times over the years. I believe they're owned by Zipper Manufacturing now. And the colors designate what grain of broadheads they are, and that's changed over the years as well. I'll go with like 145 grain broadhead. The glue-on, you can get them with the barrels in them already, but they use the aluminum ones when you order them from them. And I don't want to use those, and I want to use the steel ferrules. So I order the glue-on ones. I use that Goat Tough. They have a couple different glues. One of them is the impact glue for broadheads. I use that. For practice, you can order 145 grain tips. They've got them much bigger. They got them up into the 200-300 grains, I believe, at Three Rivers Archery. Been using this same setup for like I said, since about 2010. I weigh them. Let's see. I'll show you what my arrows are weighing in at right now. These are the finished arrow that I elk hunt with. If you don't have a grain scale, you can get one of these grain scales. I bought this one at Harbor Freight. They're like 12 or 15 bucks. They're not much. I've had it for years. It works great. Okay, see that? 692 grains. That's my finished elk arrow right there. So I've been using that for years. We can get into a little bit what I use for deer. Like I said in this video, I wanted to concentrate on what I use for elk. I believe you do have to use a sturdier setup for elk. They're a big animal. I'm sure anybody who knows who's hunted them knows this. When you're shooting this heavy setup, as Dr. Ashby has quoted, other people have quoted, this setup's for when everything doesn't go perfect. I know in the past, if you've got a lighter setup, different kind of broadhead, sometimes you got to wait for a perfect shot, broadside shot. With this setup, I don't worry about which direction the elk are facing. I can take a frontal shot, quartering two shot. I've done it and have great results. I shot a cow here, I don't know, about 7 years ago. I shot a cow. She was kind of quartering to me. I shot her right through the front shoulder here, right in front of the front leg bone. Went through here and it hit the leg bone on the other side, and it absolutely shattered that leg bone on the far side, the left leg bone. Completely shattered. It looked like it had been hit with a rifle. I really wish I would have taken pictures or video back then. I didn't know I was going to start a YouTube channel, which I only did like 6 months ago. But I really wish with that animal and a bunch of the other ones that I had taken pictures, just to the same pictures that Dr. Ashby has put out. Same results. I had a buddy of mine shoot one in the spine at about 15 yards. Dropped it in place, and we a year or two later we went back to the bone pile, and I found that vertebrae that his broadhead was sticking in, and it barely got into the vertebrae in it. It barely get the tip of it was just in there, and it was enough to take the elk up and just drop it in its tracks. But I can't remember if it was that same year or a year around there. I shot a cow and hit it broadside. It went, I don't know, maybe 50 yards, laid down, and we waited a little bit. I went up, did some follow-up shots on it, and when I got up close to about 40 yards, it laid down sideways, and I shot it, and I hit it right in the spine as well. And it gave me a good comparison, because one of these broadheads was sticking out both sides of its vertebrae. It went all the way through both sides. So it was just kind of just another comparison on the difference of penetration that you get. If you hit that scapula, that leg bone on that one side, even on an elk with a heavy setup like this, it'll blow right through it. If you don't hit that and the leg bone on the other side, it'll blow through the elk so fast it doesn't even know it's hit. A bunch of them that I've shot them, and they didn't even know they were hit. They still just stood there looking around because they heard the bow. You can experience that with any other type of arrow or broadhead, but the difference it really makes is when you hit any of that bone. So really big animals, they're tough to take down. I've almost knocked a couple of them literally off their feet, hitting with these heavy setups. I hit one. I hit another elk through. It was kind of angled away from me. I shot it. It went back through, and it hit its back leg bone, and it was stumbling. It almost went down, knocked it right down. It only went maybe 20, 30 yards after that, and I shot it a couple more times. But I've had a couple of them almost just knock them off their feet. They're hit and they're hurt so bad. So let me get to, I wanted to touch on my deer setup. I know I was focusing on mostly just elk with their size and the heavy setup. Deer, I used to hunt my deer with the exact same setup, same bow, same arrows, and the place where I go deer hunting over the years, I run into quite a few instances where I've got longer shots. It's true with your heavy setup on your on my elk bow, they do drop fast. I've got a 60. I only go out to 60-yard pin on my bow. I know where my drop's out at 65, so I'll feel comfortable out to 65. I don't feel like I need to shoot any further than that. I figure maybe if I do, maybe I need to brush up on my stalking skills. I mean, isn't that what the hunting is all about? Is getting close to them with the bow. But the deer where I hunt, it's some of the places are really open and cross ravines and this and that, and I'm sure a lot of people out west here hunt mule deer, especially if they're out in the sagebrush or whatever. They've run into the same thing. You're gonna get some longer shots out there. So I finally decided here 2 years ago to kind of stray away from my elk arrow setup, and what I decided to go with is a different bow, and I've got a sight that goes out to 80 yards, so I can shoot out to 80. I'm shooting a little bit of a lighter arrow. I use the 340s, and I'm using a 100 grain broadhead. But what I decided to stick with on the broadhead is still cut on contact broadhead that's single beveled, and I'll show you what I decided to go with. I decided to go with these. These are called Kudu broadheads. I was in the Bowtech Pro Shop, which started right here in Eugene, Oregon, and it's still there. And they have a shop in there. You go in there and buy stuff. And I saw these Kudu broadheads, and they got them in left bevel, right single bevel. I thought I'd give them a try. I've only shot one animal with it. I shot that buck right in the middle right there, and I did hit him broadside, and I didn't hit any major bones, so I can't attest to their bone breaking ability, but it did penetrate well. The arrow blew right through him. So at any rate, take that for what you will. That's my 2 cents. Like I said, that's coming from personal experience. That's not from just reading stuff on paper or on the computer or listening to other people talk. I've had lots of experience with shooting elk with this heavy setup and deer. I also shot that deer on the right hand side with the heavy elk setup and hit him in the neck. He turned right when I shot, and I did shoot at him again. He went a little ways, and he went a little bit further than that, then finally piled up and died. But the wound channel was huge. All I can say is I'm super impressed with the heavy setup. I'm not going back to a light setup ever, for elk anyways. Like I said, the black-tailed deer are small. They're a little bit bigger than Ellie, my dog. Body-wise, and their bones aren't very big. I think you could probably get away with a little bit of a lighter setup. Of course, you can kill any animal with a lighter setup, but I'm talking about just like everybody else does. Ashby talks about when you're hitting bone, and having to worry about what angle the animal's sitting at. Follow-up shots. I don't know about you, but if I've hit an animal and I get a chance to get a follow-up shot, I don't want to have to care what direction the animal's facing. I want to be able to put another arrow in and get it bleeding more. It doesn't always happen. All the shots aren't always perfect. I've made hunt long enough, and I've made bad shots before. But every single season, I find somebody who says, I shot one and I can't find it, and it's sickening, especially when, like this last season, it takes quite a few points to draw out the unit I was in, and guys shoot a big bull and they never find it. Take that information, do what you will with it. That's my personal experience. All I would ask is give it a try. You won't regret it. Other than that, we're getting ready to hit the mountains here in about a week. We're going to be elk hunting, and I wish everybody good luck who's going. If you're not really into bow hunting yet, you're just starting out, or you're thinking about it, and you're looking into bows and arrows and broadheads and stuff, keep an open mind. Don't let anybody at the pro shop or other people talk you into one way or another. Try them yourself. Decide for yourself. You'll be happy that you did give it a try. Hopefully I'll be able to get to show you some video and show you some evidence and back up what I've been saying here about this setup and why I think it's so good. And I know our last video, I made one elk video from I think 2020. That video is not very good. It was mostly just for the family to watch. I didn't know I was going to have a YouTube channel. So I promise that the video is going to be better this year. It should be more footage. There'll be more than one elk in it. And we're just really looking forward to it. We're super stoked. We work towards it all year long. We run, we shoot, we lift year round. Rain or shine, we're preparing for the elk hunt every year. So we're super stoked, just like every year. I feel sorry for people who don't hunt. I don't know anybody who gets excited as adults as hunters do when the elk season comes around. I mean, you get as excited as you did when you were a little kid around Christmas time. So I really feel sorry for people that don't have that in their life. So good luck, everybody, and thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time. Good luck out there.